Welcome to the Candid Conversation Show with Coach Stacy, where we have real people, real topics, and real stories. Right here on 108 Praise Radio, where we voice the gospel. I told you. Come alive. It's alive. Candid Conversation. Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome. I am Coach Stacy, certified life coach, speaker, author, and I empower women and a few select men to dominate in their purpose. My testimony of overcoming domestic violence and cancer and a few other traumatic experiences makes me passionate about helping other people who are wanting to throw in the towel. So not only have I broken free, but I've helped countless other people walk boldly and authentically in their purpose over the last 10 years as a life coach. And right here on Candid Conversation, we have amazing guests who come on and share impactful stories, books, and testimonies. I believe it's important to share your story. I believe the experiences that we are given are gifts to share with other people. You never know who's listening, who's watching, and who needs to hear your story of overcome to give them just a little bit of hope. So today we have an amazing guest who's going to share a piece of her journey with us. We're going to talk about who she is, what she does, and how she's impacting the world. And I'll just let you know her name, Miss Marshila Hall. Welcome to Candid Conversation.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm going to tell you all about her in just 1 second. But before we get going good, I just want to give a shout out to everyone who's tuned in to the Candid Conversation Show. Welcome. Hello. Thank you for joining. What's up to the B5, Cashville? If I forgot you, I'm sorry. Charge it to my head, not my heart. Okay, let me introduce my guest today. I'm excited. I hope you guys are doing really well after Thanksgiving. Did you have a good Thanksgiving? I don't know, dude.
I don't know, girl. It was great. I was
like, you don't know, do you? I hope you've all had an amazing Thanksgiving and are ready for Christmas. You ready for Christmas?
I am ready for Christmas. Ready to share the love.
You ready? For real?
I'm ready.
I don't know if I'm ready. It's like this year flew by fast.
It did. So fortunately, we don't buy a lot of presents. So
yeah, I don't do that either.
We're ready.
They done got too big for all that.
Too old.
Yeah, I give them some gift cards and
some money.
Yeah,
make some donations to some other people.
Yeah,
I'm good.
And just call it a day, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Peace on. Oh, wrong show. Okay. Miss Marshila Hall, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She is the author of The Pit of Purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was prolific.
Prolific Purpose is my arts empowerment center.
Okay, we're going to talk about that too. Okay, I was like, wait a minute. She had a weird word in there that I had to go look up. It was the first time I had ever heard it.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, that is a powerful word.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about that. But Miss Marshila Hall, she's authentic, she's compassionate, she's transparent, she's innovative. Trust me, out of the box. And I believe it's all necessary. As the servant leader and visionary, she is the servant leader and visionary of the I Am Kept Woman Movement. She's the chaplain for the Atlanta chapter of Black Women Networking. She's a mentor with Fly Life, Inc. and Beauty with Purpose Girls Empowerment and author of The Pit of Purpose. And community activism. Wow, you do a lot. Global speaking, and your empowerment center is Prolific and Visual Arts Ministry, right?
Mm-hmm. Prolific Purpose.
Prolific Purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I like that. Nice. She believes that we are created to prosper positively in everything that we do. Of course, we just said she birthed Prolific Purpose through the implementation of strategic techniques and methods. She facilitates inspirational art therapy sessions that aid in self-discovery, success beyond brokenness, and reviving matters of the heart. I've never heard of that. Art therapy sessions.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
A little bit about the art therapy sessions. What I do is I use dance, drama, spoken word,
art
things to provide therapy.
Nice. For healing trauma.
For healing trauma, for allowing individuals to discover what trauma is and what it has done to their life, and how using those techniques can cause them to function outside of the trauma and the pain and heal from an authentic place.
Nice. Okay. Maybe I need some little art therapy. I don't know how to dance though.
You don't gotta know how to dance. You got 2 feet.
I got 2 feet.
We could teach you how to move.
Really?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
don't know now. Some little stick I am. I don't got
That's
no
all right.
rhythm. My kids probably listening saying, "Yep, she right. Don't do it. Don't do your stuff like that."
I got you. Look,
You got
I
me.
got
Okay, that's what's up. But I did want to talk about the book, The Pit of Purpose.
you. Okay.
So tell us a little bit about The Pit of Purpose.
A little bit about the book, The Pit of Purpose. It's a culmination of my life story about the trials and situations that I've been in and circumstances that I've been able to overcome through my faith, not alone, but through my faith in God, and using practical principles
To do that.
to do that.
To do that. The value in this book, I'm going to just read the back of it, guys. The value in this book is to encourage, empower, and impact the heart, mind, imagination, and faith of others. Like many, I understand how the effect of obstacles that come present themselves as a stumbling block to stifle our acceptance of our indisputable origin. Whew, lots of big words. I just got smart. And how that can lead you to a painful revelation of how flawed we really are. In that, we deny the image of the mirror on the wall, never taking a real significant stare into the reflection that looks back at us. Every pit has a purpose. I like that. I like that. And one of the reasons I like that is I'm really big on looking in the mirror. I have an exercise I do in my school where I teach the students to look in the mirror because a lot of times people do not accept the flaws that they have.
Right.
You agree?
I agree with that very much so.
Very much so.
And very much so.
Yes. So we've chatted a few times, and I'm getting to know you, and I think you're very powerful.
Thank you.
But I know that you have a story. Besides arts, how do you share that with the world? Like art, I know you're transparent. I know you don't mind, and it's kind of hard because I have questions I want to ask, but it's like,
Ask away.
do
ask
they want
away.
to talk about that? Okay, so I'll just go right on in. Okay, so you used to be a dancer,
I did.
not a dancer, but a dancer.
Like a dancer, stripper dancer.
Yes.
Exotic dance.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that.
A little bit about that. I started dancing, being an exotic dancer, adult entertainer, whatever you want to call it, what have you. I started doing that actually as a decision that I made after the end of my first marriage. I'm on marriage number 2, but at the end of my first marriage to provide and take care of myself and a young daughter that I had at that time.
Okay. Was it lucrative?
It was very lucrative. I learned a lot of business savvy, learning a lot of financial methods, that you don't get in school sometimes these days.
Yes. Now, let me ask you this, because I've I have some friends that have been down that road, and a lot of them are using it now for their purpose, share their story, helping others come out of that lifestyle. And I know it's deep. Do you have scars from that?
I was the type of individual. I'm very strong-willed and strong-minded. So if I'm going to do something, it has to be because I want to do it. I'm not the type of person that you can just make do something. So I went into the business really headstrong. I saw a lot, seen a lot, but I wasn't privy to experience a lot because I was so strong-willed. So my motivations for being there, I was pretty focused.
Okay.
So I didn't fall into a lot of the underground things and operations that go on, but I did see a lot.
That was pretty much the question there, because a lot of them, they get in that life, and it is it's a lifestyle all in itself.
Right.
You lose yourself. You
lose yourself, your life, your mind, your morals, your values. They often say that if you don't stand for anything, that you'll fall for anything.
That's right.
So a lot of people, lose themselves in the fame or in the money, in the drugs. But, you just have to pretty much be focused. Like I said, what's the goal? Get in and get out. It's not a lifetime job or career move. That's what I would say.
Wow, amazing. So now, what turned it around for you?
What turned that around for me, I actually, I had been dancing in church since a little girl before I ever even started dancing in a club. And just my love and desire to do something different, to do something better. And I saw the outcome that dance provided,
Right.
both in the provocative world and in ministry as well.
Okay.
So I decided that if I can influence man with my body, then how much more I can influence the world with my body by worshiping God with it.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
That's amazing. I never thought about it like that. That is amazing. Yes. So now you do praise dancing.
Yes,
Lots of praise dancing.
lots of praise dancing. I'm a dance minister.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of seen. I think a quick snippet somewhere. I don't know if it was your Facebook, but pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
Thank you.
And I know we can just shut it down there, but that, I mean, there are so many lost out there with that. So
Yeah.
what would you say to someone who's trying to break free from that lifestyle?
What I would say actually to anyone that's trying to break free from that lifestyle, the main thing is really figuring out, your desire, who you really are. Because a lot of times, the young ladies, even women that's been in it 20 years, we begin to identify ourselves as that and that only. And that becomes our identity and our way of life because we never go back, like I said, to the mirror and look at ourselves and say, hey, you know what? This is what I was doing, but this is not who I am. And this doesn't have to be a part of me. So just really sitting down, deciding, is this what you want to do for the rest of your life? Or is there more in you and can you do more?
That's good. That's a very good question. That's a very good question. Okay, so back to the pit of purpose. What prompted you? What inspired you to pen this book?
The thing that inspired me to pen my book first was to have the opportunity to not only help other people, but to also get the secrets out. Because a lot of times I find that we have a lot of family secrets and other people are dealing with the same thing that we're dealing with. And because we haven't shared that testimony or haven't shared that trauma, people are hurting. And I told my daughters a long time ago what had happened to me through my childhood. And it was just prompted by the Holy Spirit, I believe, to write this book. Because it is really a tell all. And I didn't want to tell all,
I know a lot of people have that issue. Even I myself, authors, and they want to just get the truth out there. But how do you think that affects family? I know that's a good question.
That's a great question because I struggled, Stacy, with penning the book because I know that God told me to do it, but there was like a 2-week struggle of tears, like, what is my family going to say? Because I had already told my mom and a few other people already knew. I spoke with them about the book before I wrote it, and I let them know, what was going on, what God had told me to do and prompted me to do, and I struggled. I cried because I know some of my family members who had those interactions with me are now married. So I was concerned about their wives, their children, But God told me to do it, and it was for the benefit of healing, not to just tell all and put people out.
Right, and that's how sometimes it's viewed. Oh, you're just going to tell all the business. But a lot of times it has to do with healing.
Yeah, it does.
You have to dig back to the big beginning of it.
Yeah, you do.
A lot of times we think we're healed with something, and it comes back up again. Okay, I thought I was healed from that. Let me get focused. But when you're just really ignoring it, you're not really healing.
Exactly.
You got to really deal with where it came from.
Yeah, you do. And a lot of time I call that those grave moments. We don't want to go back to the graveyard and dig up those bodies, which are those stories of trauma. And we bury that, and we find ourselves in life constantly being stifled in different places or in the same places. And it's because we haven't dealt with those things we buried that we believe are treasures, and they're not.
Yeah, that's so true. Good deal. I like that. Why don't you tell everyone where they can purchase your book?
You guys can purchase The Pit of Purpose on Amazon.com. It is also at Barnes & Nobles, and you can find it on Prolific Purpose at gmail.com, where I can send an autographed copy over to you.
Okay. I just wanted to share one more thing on here. Where did I see it? Because, I looked through the book. I can't find it right now. Is this it? No, that's not it. That's not it. Oh, yeah. The Pit of Sickness and Moral Decay. I kind of skimmed through a little bit because I'm going to sit down and read this. A few things I was like, I got to read this book.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I got to read this book. But it talks about sexual abuse and sexual mutilation. Just share a little bit about that.
A little bit about that. I dealt with a lot of issues growing up from about the age of 3 till I believe in my teen years, where I was being sexually molested. Started off with my great grandfather and a few of my cousins, and then on to some family friends. And this caused a deep desire, a deep lust desire in me. And I really went throughout life believing that sex was the only way that I could please other people or be accepted. Because of that. And a lot of times that's why we as people, women or men, we end up in various relationships because there's a lust spirit. It's not love, it's lust. And so I learned through that situation that other things come along with that.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
dishonor. You have low self-esteem. You have a lack of appreciation for yourself. And a lot of times you become a pleaser, doing everything for everyone else and nothing for you. So that's pretty much what it talks about in there when I talk about the sexual molestation and mutilation.
Wow. Sexual mutilation. What's that?
Really, a lot of times we look at that as causing harm to the body.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't understand that harm to the body comes when you're giving yourself away to different people who really don't deserve you. They aren't the ones that God has created for you.
That's right.
So we mutilate the body internally by sleeping with all these individuals who aren't a part of us.
Right.
And from a spiritual standpoint, we gain things. We call them soul ties, but we gain these issues and these attributes
Picking up
and
all
habits,
kinds of
picking
stuff.
up all kind of stuff and other people's people. And then we lose our mind not knowing what's wrong with us because we've mutilated ourselves through lust.
I just wanted to talk about that because sometimes when people hear that word, they don't understand where you're coming from. They think, with the cutter or
Right.
things like that. When it's really not that. It's all about those soul ties.
Yeah.
That we don't realize that we're picking up other people's mess. And stuff and issues and demons and
garbage and junk and
all of that and all of that. And then I noticed that towards the end of each chapter, you give ways to activate positivity and healing and different things. And with that, you said activate the power of image.
Yes.
Which is instruction, motivation, accountability, goals, and excellence.
Yes,
And you give scriptures. I like that. So you guys pick this book up. When I tell you, I just skimmed through and I was like, okay, you got to get you some. I'm gonna schedule some time to sit down and read this book because it's good. It's good.
Yes,
it's good.
yes.
It's good. So now, outside of the art of therapy, what else do you do? Just tell us more about what you do on how you help people with the healing. With the books. Just think your average day. What you do?
My average day.
Speak to us. Preach to us.
Yes. My average day pretty much consists of I do a lot of mentoring with young girls. My belief is that if I can help a child, I can heal a woman.
Right.
If I can heal a woman, I can heal a child. So my thing now is to really reach our young girls in this time who are struggling, with identity. They're struggling, if I'm gay or if I'm a hoe or, things of that nature. They just don't know who they are. So now I live my day to day going to schools, going to ministries, and really mentoring those girls, really giving them a place of safety and somewhere to talk what they can't release, to their family members, the secrets that nobody's asking them about.
Right. Or want to talk
about. Because we live in this world where we believe that we're perfect and we're not.
I don't know why we believe that.
And so my goal is to really help women and young girls be free from shame, be free from guilt, be free from trauma, and know that there's more to you. I often like to say that there's beauty in your ugly.
It is.
And it is.
It is.
It's amazing that the ugly things that happen to us can really allow us to really soar.
Yes. And there are so many. I'm just appalled, really, sometimes when I think about it. There are so many who are sexually abused.
Yes.
So many people that you would not even imagine or
would never imagine, think about, fathom.
Any of that.
Right.
And so it's a really, really long journey to try to find healing after that.
Yes, it is. It's a very long journey. I mean, I've been through it years ago, and I'm still picking up stuff and, plucking out my garden. And
You got to constantly do
yeah,
that.
constantly. It's the consistent work. We like to tell people, time will heal things, but time without action won't heal anything.
Right. That's true.
So,
You got to put some action
you got to
behind
put
it.
some action to it. And you got to be willing to really deal with the pain. A lot of times we like to escape pain, but pain is beneficial for growth.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. Well, pain lets you know when something there. I just think, the pain I feel in my body. Lord.
Right. Seriously,
If
yes.
I didn't have pain, I didn't have a problem. What if I had a problem and didn't show any pain, then I wouldn't be able to fix that.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
So
Mm-hmm.
awesome
Yes,
sauce.
ma'am.
We just candidly talking, honey. Sharing this book. I have a story of sexual abuse as well. I haven't talked about it a lot, but I know, and I guess that's why it keeps coming up, how is it that you help? What is it that you do? Because I know I didn't have anyone to help. I couldn't even talk about it.
Right. Well, at first, how I dealt with it as a young child, I wrote all the time. Writing has always been
Okay.
my way of escape, to escape the pain, to escape what was happening to me. I wrote poetry. I would write to myself. Journaling was like my passion. But to really help other people, I really dig in and I ask the hard questions. A lot of times we don't have people asking the right questions.
Sure don't.
I remember my mom saying, "Oh, I asked you, did anybody touch you?" When I was younger. And she said, I told her no. And I'm like, if you asking me that and somebody's threatening my life or threatening your life, of course I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'm not going to just tell you.
Right. So when you have those situations like that, it's really being intentional. And you got to see beyond what's on the surface. So there's a level of discernment that we have to exercise, and everybody's been given discernment. So it's really, I'm in there. What's going on with you? Oh, nothing. No, there's something. It doesn't have to be wrong, but let's talk about it. And giving that ear. Okay, this is a safe environment. It's non-judgmental, and you're free to express what it is that you need to talk about.
Right.
And I'm trustworthy.
Right.
People need to know that you're trustworthy and that you're not going to divvy out what they're giving you to other people.
Yes. And I guess you kind of answered. I was going to ask you, what would you say to parents who feel that maybe something has happened to one of their children as far as sexual molestation? What kind of advice would you give them on how to deal with it, how to speak with them, how to question them? What type of advice would you give them?
First, I would really say to a parent that believes or hints to their child experiencing that, I would really ask them first, has it ever happened to them? Because a lot of times when we look at it from a spiritual side, spirits follow generational.
Don't they?
So they don't just skip over generations.
No,
they
they
travel
don't.
because they've been given permission to be in the family. So really, asking them, has this happened to you? Has this happened to anyone in the family first? They need to answer that question. And then when approaching that child, it must come from a place of love and not from a place of anger, frustration. There has to be a love language there and some comforting. So I would sit my child down and say, hey, you know what? This has gone on in the family. And this has happened, if it's happened to them, to me or to my sister or someone. And I just want to sit down and talk to you about some things. And to have a real heart to heart. Let them pour out first and then ask the child.
That's good. I'm glad you shared it that way. It is about how you approach the situation.
Oh, yes.
It is. Because I can remember being asked, now that you say that. And I was like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong.
Knowing all along.
Hurting.
Dying.
Literally dying inside.
But it's just that love approach. We have to always bring everything back to love. Because, we don't want to be approached in an aggressive manner. Hey, did something happen to you? Is somebody doing something to you? Well, you just scared the heck out of me just like the person that's doing it to me.
Right. So what I'm going to tell you?
Right. So just having that love language and that real, love and tender approach. compassion.
And it kind of sounds like what when I speak with those support members of domestic violence, it's kind of the same way, and how you approach them. You know, a lot of people ask that question, "Why do you stay?"
Right, crazy question.
Yeah, that's the craziest question in the world. But it's asked, why are you staying? But how you ask why you're staying can be the turnaround for that victim.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Give me
yes,
the
yes,
turnaround.
very much so. And also on the sexual molestation, a lot of people don't realize, that just like with domestic violence, why do you stay? Because you become a lover and appreciative of whatever the attention is, whether it's negative or positive.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just want that acceptance. Like with my grandfather, it was, I didn't know, but I loved my grandfather because there was more than, I should love him as a great grandfather.
Right, right.
But then there was that extra, acceptance, that extra, love. It wasn't really love, but at that age, that's what I thought it was.
Right.
So in my eyes, not only was he my great grandfather, but he loved me.
And you knew that.
Right.
Because
With the
it's
undeniable
valuable.
love. And so for the person that's being abused in their mind, they know they need to get out, but nobody else is going to love me. Nobody else is going to, desire me.
And another thing I noticed is that we identify that with love.
Right.
We think that's love. I just thought about it because I also go to the schools and I teach teens about teen dating violence. And I was just thinking the other day, I was at a school and I was talking, and the questions that the young women were giving me were basically about esteem and we identify with that. And that's how I got caught up in that. I noticed that, yes, I'm in this situation, but it didn't just start right here.
Right.
I've always attracted this type of behavior into my life because this is how I identified with love.
Right.
If I got with somebody that didn't put their hands on me, I thought something was wrong.
Right. They crazy.
You accept the unnormal or abnormal
Right.
as normal.
As normal. Yes, ma'am.
And it's the same way with sexual molestation,
It is. You do.
sexual abuse.
Sexual abuse. And then your body, the body is so amazing. It's just like someone that's addicted to a drug. The body craves it. Because once it starts, your body begins to crave these things. So the cravings happen in your mind. And we don't really address that. So when the brain craves, it sends those signals to the body.
Right.
And we respond to that and we feed it.
Right.
So, that's with anything. We have to retrain the mind.
I agree. Wow, this is deep. Okay, Candid Conversation. Here we go. Just asking all kinds of questions. Okay, so with the tell us about Black Women Networking.
Black Women Networking is a community organization that I'm involved in through Dr. Keisha Jones Pate. I am the chaplain for their community chapter here in Atlanta. And we do a lot of promoting healthy esteem for women and young girls, business networking and empowering women to lead in business, not only Black women, but also women of other nationalities. So we believe in getting them started in business and walking them through the process, to success, to where they want to be.
Nice. Okay, just want to know a little bit something about what else you do.
What else?
What else you do? But thank you for talking about the book. I do encourage you all to pick it up and check it out. And if you're having issues in some of those areas, please do not hesitate to reach out to someone to try to give you the help and support that you need to help get you through, to help with your healing in that process. What else we got to talk about? Let's see. Expression, healing, working. Oh, you're just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You're
Thank
just
you,
amazing.
thank you.
You're just amazing. I appreciate you coming on and talking about this. Some of the things that you talked about, though, are not always easy topics to talk about.
No, they're not. They're not easy at all. But, they have to be talked about. They must be talked about they have to be talked about almost with a vengeance. Because I feel like if I don't discuss them with a vengeance, then I won't be able to help people get back what belongs to them.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's tweetable. That's good. Give back what belongs to you. I like
Yes.
that. I like that. I like that. So, with ending today, I want to ask, what's your favorite motivational quote? What gets you going? What gets you fired up?
My favorite motivational quote probably is if you can't do great things big, do small things great.
Okay. If you can't do,
Great things
help me out.
big, do small things great.
If you can't do great things big, do small things great. Okay.
Yeah.
Why you like that quote?
Um,
Why
I
does
lo-
that get you all fired up?
That gets me fired up because it lets me know that no matter where I start, that I'm starting off at a good point as long as I don't quit.
Don't quit. That's what I was hitting on. Don't quit.
Don't quit.
Don't quit. Don't quit. Well, before ending today, I'm going to, as I close, I want to leave with you, preach to yourself. Okay? Romans 12:2 says, do not conform, and I'm reading the New International Version, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so I wanted to kind of kick this off with an honest confession. You know, it's easy for me, or it's easy for all of us, to get stuck in our head. Our brains are kind of like command centers of our bodies, you know, and we talked about pain and all of those things, telling our muscles to move, helping us to speak, you know, and a billion other things that your brain does. But they are powerful parts of us, our brains. They're very, very powerful parts of us, but they're made of flesh, you know, and that means our brains and our thoughts can be difficult to wrangle with. I'm often reminded of the fact that my brain is just human when I'm faced with how out of control my thoughts can become. And I know people can relate because our mind can be the biggest. Okay, keep moving. But your mind can take you places,
Take you
boy,
places.
you know, so maybe, and like I said, maybe some of you guys are like that too. You know, you got, your brain is purring and it make you feel like it can never stop. You just want to shut it off, you know. And I sometimes I can get tired of hearing myself think, you know. From the moment I get up out of the bed and plant my feet on the ground, my mind, it gets going nonstop. It's just going and going and going. And sometimes it's going so fast, you can look at me and be like, yo, mind, you thinking like, you ever had those moments
I
though?
have, yes.
You know what I'm talking about? I know I'm going somewhere with this. Trust me, I'm going somewhere. But we're always thinking. And this is how God made us, you know. And most of the time I like it. I like, you know, the intellectual part of us.
Right.
However, there's a darker side that sometimes trips us up. Okay, so before breakfast we have about 1,000 thoughts, and thousand, not thoughts. I didn't say thoughts. I said thoughts. Okay, 1,000 thoughts, and not all of them agree with each other. You know, we're conflicted
Right.
in our mind. See, I told y'all I was going somewhere,
Right.
and that's it can be kind of chaotic and confusing. Okay, and this internal frustration sometimes keeps us from obeying God in the smallest, most important things that he asks of us to do.
Yes, yes.
Our minds. But you got to stop playing with the bad news in your head. You got to quit telling yourself, I can't do this. I am not enough. Nothing is ever going to change. We all spend a lot of energy just wrestling with different thoughts. I am my worst own critic. Like, I'm serious. I am my own, and we all can be that way
Yes.
and not even realize it. Even though we're critical of others, sometimes we
Right.
can be our own worst critic, and we say things to ourselves over and over that we'd never say to somebody else.
Exactly.
You know, our mind is not even sometimes a good friend to us.
Right.
Am
Yeah,
I
you're telling the
touching on
truth.
some stuff?
Yeah.
But like everything in life, following God is good news. There's good news to that. The Bible shows us a way out of the mess of our minds, and God actually wants to change our minds.
Yes.
Whether we know it or not, he wants to change our minds, okay? So, according to brain science, when we think the same thing over and over, our brains are designed to make a sure path, so thinking is easier the next time. So if you notice muscle memory, you've heard the saying muscle memory. That's what we used to use in the military. You know?
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because once you do it 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
it's automatic. You know, or just when you do it over and over, you say those affirmations. They become a part of you. Things are just become habit forming. But the same design can work against us when we look at negative thought patterns.
Exactly. Right.
Essentially, every time you think about something, you make connections with your brain that make it more likely that you'll head down the same thought path again and again and again. I know I'm sounding deep today. I know I got it. So when you think, so when you start thinking, I can't do this, pretty soon you'll be hearing that a lot more often in your head. Over and over again. Your brain will start behaving that way. It's just so simple. Okay, well, I can't do it. I'm going to behave as if I can't do it. But the Bible tells us that if we renew our minds, God will transform them. Do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our mind. When we break the negative thought patterns and turn our minds towards God, He changes the way we think. So I want to give you guys a couple of tips to help you change the way that you think. First, uncover your personal bad news. I know that's not always easy for some, but you have to ask yourself, what do I tell myself every day that doesn't agree with the truth of God? Am I right? Am I hitting on something?
Oh, you're hitting on something. That's good.
As those thoughts come, you got to notice that they're coming and call them out. You know, you got to, you can't let them just run through your mind unintended. You got to notice that your personal bad news loop and then mentally call it out every time you're encountering. And you replace that bad news with good news. You got to find scripture that talk back to your bad news. You got to repeat the scripture often. You got to start to write it if it helps to rewire your mind. You know, you got to tell God, thank you for the way you created my mind.
Yes.
You got to tell it positive things. I'm not able to control my thoughts on my own. It's kind of impossible sometimes, but I know that you can show me the way to do that. So I just want to leave with you guys today, you know, preach to yourself. Preach to yourself. Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares about you. Preach to yourself. Preach to yourself. Did that make sense?
That makes
Or was
plenty
I a
of
little
sense.
bit too? Was I a little bit too deep?
No, that makes
I
plenty
know
of
you're
sense.
not talking to me right now.
Preach to yourself.
I'm talking about preach to ourselves.
Yes.
Not preach to the producer. I'm just playing. Listen, guys, guess what? You all have been listening and watching to Candid Conversation with Coach Stacy right here on 108 Praise, where we voice the gospel. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I thank you for joining me on today.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you'll be open to coming back soon.
Yes, I'd love to visit you guys real soon.
Okay, awesome. That's what we got. We will see you guys next time. Thank you for joining.